Hello everyone, this is Coach Oliver once again. Welcome to the primer of the Airthings Masters 2022. This is the first of 9 events in the Meltwater Champions Tour this year. Okay, the leader of this tournament is our very own world champion, Magnus Carlsen. He leads the 16-player field, and it's on Chess 24. It will be played online on Chess 24. All right, in this primer though, we are going to show you the best game of last year's Airthings Masters 2021, game between Aronian and Timur Radjabov. This was an almost immortal game by Aronian. All right, let's go through the game. Aronian was wide against Radjabov. And by the way, last year Radjabov won the Airthings Masters 2021, beating Aronian in the finals. Okay, starting with e4, Radjabov went for e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. Again, the very famous Italiano, basta Italiano, huh? c3, knight into f6, d3, castles, e6, bishop d5. Okay, when there's a chance to pin, go for it. A pin on queen. Radjabov went for h6, bishop h4, g5. This was almost forced, yeah, because the pin is quite hard to defend, of course, yeah. Because white can go for king h1, knight can go back to e1, and then f4. But that's a possibility later on. So g5, bishop into g3, a5, rook to e1, rook e8, knight bd2, normal developing move, of course, bishop a7, knight f1, bishop into e6, bishop e5, Aronian keeps his light square bishop, bishop d7, knight into e3, that was a typical maneuver for the knight to e3 from b1, d2, f1, e3, typical in the Roy Lopez, in the Italian. The knight could also go to g3, but in this case, the bishop's on g3, so you are forced to go to e3, knight into e7. Same plan for black, the knight goes to e6, a4, c6, bishop goes back to c4, knight g6, queen into c2. Okay, this is quite tricky. The main target of this queen is to push this pawn to d4, possibly e5, and the queen takes g6 with that pin on the king. Okay. So keep an eye on that one, yeah? Knight into f4, rook d1, centralizing both rooks, e1 and e1. Queen into e7, d4. All right, the rooks are centralized, open up the middle. E takes d4, bishop takes f4. Aronian removes the defender of that important g6 square. Remember earlier, you just keep an eye on the g6 square, right? With that pin on queen. So g takes f4, line clearance. The pawn clears the line for the queen on g6. D takes e3. And now Aronian went for queen g6 check. King h8. Queen takes h6. Knight h7. Bishop d3. Wow. Let's start from here. This position is reminiscent of the game between Spassky and Bronstein in the King's Gambit. Let's take a look at that game. Spassky was wide against Bronstein. All right, Bronstein has just played the move e2. In the game, Spassky went for knight d6, sacrificing the rook on f1 with a check, right? Okay, the main point of knight d6 is to clear the line also for the queen on h7 with the battery. Bronstein protects h7 with knight f8. Spassky went for knight takes f7. Amazing. Attacking the weakest point, the f7 square. Okay, there are two weak points in the king's position. One is f2 and one is f7, of course. For white, the weakest point is f2. For black, the weakest point is f7, because the only piece protecting that square in the beginning of the game is the king. That's the reason why we castle to protect that important f2 or f7 square. So after knight takes f7, takes the rook with a check, right? Giving up the whole rook with the check. Rook takes into f1, bishop f5. Now let's take a look at king takes f7 here. King takes f7, we have knight e5 or knight g5, check. Double check to the king. King goes back to g8, we have bishop e3 check. If let's say bishop e6, we can sacrifice the queen on h7, right? That's nice. Knight takes h7, bishop takes e6. King goes to h8, knight f7 check. King g8. Knight e5, king h8, knight g6. The bishop and knight combo, yes. King is checkmated. Although you could also go for the simple. If you don't want to be fancy, you can go for bishop takes h6, yes. If knight takes, then you have queen h7 mate. And if the king goes to h8, you just have to remove the defender on h7. After rook takes, you have a mate on e7. You can also do that. But it's just so beautiful to see the checkmate with the bishop and knight here. All right, in the games, the bishop f5 was played. Queen takes f5, e7, queen f4. When you're attacking the king, do not exchange queens, yeah. Bishop into f6, knight through e5, queen 7, bishop b3, threatening. Yes, a discovered attack on the king. Takes on e5, knight takes e5, king goes h7, queen e4, check. And here, black resign. That was also a pretty nice game by Spassky. And it's reminiscent of the game by Aronian against Radjabov. Now, what happened here? Aronian played bishop d3. There's also a check. Yeah. In his interview after the game, he actually remembered this game. So Aronian knows his classic, the role of the classics. He knew these games from the former world champions. Okay, the bishop is protecting f2 here. There's a double attack or a fork on the rook and the king. King into f1. Motion, giving up the rook. Takes e1. The only way to protect the knight is to play bishop f5. You can go f5 yourself, but just e takes f6 here. Queen goes to f7, for example. Rook takes e8. Rook takes e8, and then knight g5. Either you lose your queen, or you are checkmated. Okay, you can still go queen g8, but bishop takes e7. And mate comes next. Yeah. So Radjabov went for bishop f5. Best defense. Takes on f5, of course. Now f6. He takes f6. Queen f7. And here, Aronian went for rook e6. Okay, the main point of playing queen f7 is this check on c4. For example, you go for rook takes e8, as mentioned earlier, right? Rook takes e8. If you go knight g5, then there is queen c4 check. Yes, you are going to be checkmated. That's why Radjabov played this move, bishop into f5. To move away this bishop from the d3 square so that you can use f7 to c4 check. distracting the bishop from d3. So it was tricky. Okay, Aronian. Okay, this was almost an immortal game for Aronian, yeah? But he played e6, which is a mistake. Let's go for rook takes e6, knight g5, rook takes f6, knight takes f7, takes on f7, takes and takes, queen f6, king g8, king g6, rook g7, king e6, rook f7, and then there's a perpetual for. Let's keep checking here. A perpetual. Wow, Aronian spoiled an immortal game here. Yeah. Okay, what should he play? Question is, instead of rook e6, it's the same. Aronian could have gone on to capture the rook on e8. Rook takes e8. Since the queen is going for c4, we have this quiet b3 move, yeah? Taking away c4, and the queen cannot take on b3 because it's also protecting the knight on h7. There's queen h7 mate. Queen is an overworked piece on the f7 square. Now, only move here would be rook g8 to prevent knight g5, right? Then we bring that pawn to h4. Yes, because knight g5 is coming. Then the pawn can take, not the queen, yeah? Okay, bishop into e3. Let's say, for example, bishop e3. Okay, because now if you go knight g5, rook takes g5, for example, h takes g5, and now f3. Bishop is guarding g5 and also pinning the queen. Yes. But here we have h5. The point being, we have bishop g6 coming up. Yeah. How do you stop that one? Bishop g6, rook takes g6, and then h g6. Yes. Let's say, for example, the queen moves to c7, bishop g6. Black has nothing. Yeah. Let's just make a move like so. Now f7, the blockade, blocking the queen from defending the h7 square. And white wins the game. If you play rook g7, sure. Almost an immortal game by Aronian. Spoiled by the one rook e6 move, yeah? Miss e3. Let's go back. That b3 move was missed. Well, it's also a very complicated game. It's hard to find the most precise move. And we are all prone to make mistakes as human beings. We are not machines. Right, that was it. Okay, Aronian and Rajab will not be playing in the first event, but somewhere there are 9 events. In the next event, I think they're going to play. Aronian just runner-up in the recent Berlin FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. So he probably is going to rest. And he's keeping an eye on that spot for the candidates. It's probably preparing for that one, a more important tournament than this online championship here. Rajab also is a wild card for this year's candidates. But I guess these 2 pairs will be playing somewhere in these 9 events. All right. So thanks for watching. And we will continue our coverage of the Airthings Masters 2022 tomorrow, round number 1. Magnus Carlsen, I think, will be playing Vladislav Artemiev. Okay, guys, thank you for supporting Try Smash Chess on our Facebook and YouTube channel. This is Coach Oliver once again. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.